everybody, this is Michelle with Creative Operation and Country Craft Creations, and I'm here today to share with you a run through of my design team project. This is the first project that I'm making using this exquisite line from Blue Fern Studios called Lucky Star. Go to countrycraftcreations.com and get your papers, because I'm telling you what, these are absolutely beautiful, beautiful papers. And I have gone crazy over papers before, but this stuff is just absolutely unbelievably beautiful. So you guys got to go check this out. It has a beautiful floral theme, celestial, it has jewels, it has little keys, it has crowns, it has bees. I mean, this has everything in it. It's just absolutely stunning, stunning paper. So in my collection that I received from Country Craft Creations, and that is in a video that I did with a run through of what I got the seam binding, which I created a simple closure for, and I'll show you how I did that. And then I used charms that I got in the design team package, and I just tied those to the ends with a knot and added those. And then I used another one of the charms here, the sun, in this assembly that I put on the spine. All these flowers are from my stash, but because of the floral up here, I wanted to do kind of a mimic the floral down here and use a bunch of my flowers from my stash, basically. And I just kind of layered them up and blinged it up, and I thought it was just really, I thought it turned out really super pretty. The title here is from the bottom of one of the pattern papers. It's actually called Wish. That's the name of the paper. So I cut that out and backed it on some blue artisan cardstock, and that became my title. I popped it up with a little pop dot. But isn't this gorgeous? I mean, this is just a really nice album. But one of the things about this album that you're going to like is that it doesn't take a lot of paper. It takes 5 sheets of pattern paper and 3 sheets of artisan cardstock. I used the navy blue artisan cardstock. I had a hard time trying to decide which one to use, but the navy blue, I think, really brought this paper to life, and I think it matched really perfectly. So again, it only takes 5 sheets of pattern paper. It takes 3 sheets of cardstock, and then, you know, decorate as you will. Now, the reason why it doesn't take as much cardstock is because I didn't use a lot of cardstock. Now, and the reason why I didn't is because this paper is super thick. It's like 110-pound paper, and I created a challenge for myself because I received 10 pieces of the pattern paper, but none of them were the same. So I loved both sides of the papers, and I wanted to showcase both sides of the paper. I didn't want to glue them onto cardstock, so that's why I came up with this particular design. This particular design will only work really with really nice thick pattern paper to give the book some you know, stability. You could just make the base of this book, and instead of using pattern paper, use cardstock and then put your pattern paper on top. Totally could do that, and I will do that with you know, future, you know, reincarnations of this particular style of album. But because this paper is so thick, and because the patterns were so beautiful, I wanted to challenge myself to make one with minimal cardstock. So that's what I did. So the cardstock is used for the spine, it's used for the page attachments, and it's used for the edgings. The edgings are also hinges that add flaps, so I'll show you how to do that. But then it also gives some stability to the paper, so that, you know, you don't feel quite so nervous about, you know, hardly any cardstock in the pages themselves. So again, the charm, I raided my stash and created the charm. I used the charm that came with the design team package, this sun, and then I added this beaded length that I had. This was a little metal frame that I had 2 of, so I cut a piece of pattern paper that was left over in the scraps that I had, and then filled it with glossy accents to kind of give it that jeweled look. And then this was one of those faceted teardrops that I had in my stash, and I backed it with a piece of the pattern paper and made that. So that's how I came up with the charm for this, and I'll show you how to attach this. I attached it with one of those fasteners, I think it's by Tim Holtz, that I put through the pattern paper for the spine of the album. And then there's the back of the album that I left pretty plain. Okay, so when you open it up, it's just a simple tie closure, and I just threaded a bunch of the seam binding that I got through the, with the design team package through the eyelets, and that's just the simple closure. So when you open up the book, you can see how exquisitely gorgeous this paper is and why I didn't want to glue it to cardstock. Okay, so that's why I didn't. I did use one full sheet of cardstock to make photo mats, and some of them are booklet style and some of them are just regular photo mats that I ended up making into pockets, and I'll show you that. I used another piece of seam binding that came in the design team package to create little pull tabs, and then I had these keys in my stash that I put on them, so this will pull that particular piece open and you have room for 2 pictures in here. This is a cut apart. I used 2 cut aparts in addition to the 3 sheets of pattern paper, or excuse me, the 5 sheets of pattern paper that I used for this album to create the 2 booklets that I made. So then I just added flowers from my stash, and then this paper had like little bling in it. I don't know if I showed that to you on the front. You can see like there's jewels and things in the patterns. So on some of the pages, I went through my rhinestones that I had, and I added rhinestones to those particular pieces to kind of make them pop. So then I told you about the cardstock. They're used for page edges, but they're also used for hinges, so this makes a flap. And then here's a single photo mat that I made that I just glued on 3 sides to make a pocket. And this is a piece of the pattern paper that was left over from cutting our pages to create a tag to stick in the pocket, so you could have more pictures in there or do some journaling on that card. And because these lay flush, I did not decorate with any dimension inside because I wanted to put pattern paper, or excuse me, pictures in there. So then it turns, and then you have a full page layout here. So this was one full 12 by 12 that I cut and adhered with the hinges. I'll show you how to do that. The beautiful butterflies in this pattern, I had some butterflies in my stash that I went ahead and added, and then I added a few little flowers down here with another little butterfly. Isn't this paper just gorgeous? I mean, can you see why I didn't want to glue it to cardstock? I wanted to use it all. So these pages are all just cardstock, put together with the hinges that I created with, the pages are pattern paper. Getting myself tongue-tied again. So again, a couple photo mats. This one glued on 3 sides and it's landscape. This one glued on 2 sides, it's portrait. And again, more tags. So we used 5 pieces of pattern paper to make the project, and so you ended up with 5 pieces of paper left over that I created the tags out of. So this one says anything is possible. So I cut it kind of strategically so that would stick out. Okay, on this page I put a few flowers, and I went through and put some more jewels to kind of add to the jewels in the pattern there. And then when you open this up, again, another pocket and another tag. Look at that. Isn't that pretty? I just love the papers. I just love the papers in here. So on this page, this is super, super pretty. And so I didn't cover this one up too much. I did put a couple jewels here that were over top of the jewels in the print on the paper. Look at the little bee. Isn't he cute? I may have to go back with some glossy accents and do his wings. I may have to do that with all the bees because I just think that they're so cute and I want to make them pop too. So that's something else that I think I'm going to go back and do. The other thing that I could go back and do, which I'm not sure if I'm going to do yet or not, is to punch another line with pattern paper and maybe accent this a little bit. But I kind of like the blue too because it kind of frames the page as well. A lot of times when we use cardstock and we put the pattern paper on there, we have that 1/8 inch, you know, or 1/16 inch border around, and I think this kind of borders the papers really well. So I don't know if I'm going to play with that or not, so we'll see. But then you turn this page, and then again, this one has another flap, another photo mat, and another tag. And again, I added a couple butterflies here to match the butterfly in the print, and then another flower down here. And then on this back page, I have another of the magnet booklets that you can put photo mats with the key. And this key from my stash had a little crown on it, so I was like, I have to use it. It's perfect, right? So this page is, or this book is 8 inches tall, 6 inches wide. It has a 1 7/8 inch spine, and it has 8 pages total, you know, counting all the flaps. So you have a lot of space for photos. You could put a ton of photos in this book. And again, it doesn't take very much to put it together. So grab your papers. Go to countrycraftcreations.com. Get your Blue Fern Studios Lucky Starm papers. Grab your cardstock that you want to use. Get your seam binding, go through your stash, get your jewels and your bling and your flowers and all that stuff, and join me in a little while, and I will have a tutorial up for you really, really soon. I hope you enjoyed this walkthrough. Have a really awesome day. Stay safe, stay crafty. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.